For even more updates on Stephen King's It, The Dark Tower, and The Mist, be sure to check out hybridnetworkyt.com.
Welcome back to the Hybrid Network, everybody, and another one of our Stephen King discussions, where we're crossing the streams and tackling a question that fans have asked in the past. Is It related to the Crimson King? So, the theory that I've seen a good bit around is that the monstrous entity, It, is or is somehow related to the being known as the Crimson King, the madman The Dark Tower series that seeks to destroy the obelisk holding in place all of reality. On the surface, there's some points that go into its favor, but once you start peeling back the layers of both, you can start to see why this might not be the case. First things first, is Pennywise, It, the Crimson King? That one's pretty easy, no. Not in the slightest, and there's a few key pieces of information as to why. Let's first take into account just who the Crimson King is. He's the son of Arthur Eld and a demon from the Prim, the Crimson Queen, and as such he has a connection with both humanity and Midworld, as well as the entities lurking within the primordial darkness. He's a powerful being with numerous abilities, one of the biggest being the ability to shapeshift, with himself even referencing the power as a time-honored tradition of Derry, Maine, in Insomnia, his first appearance. Already numerous people began to draw comparisons once it seemed like the Crimson King was utilizing the deadlights within that book, perhaps believing that Pennywise had returned and had a grander scheme outside of Derry, Maine. There's a few things to take away from this though. The deadlights belong to Pennywise. They're not some sort of learned magic or spell. You see, the thing here is that there's no direct correlation that the Crimson King's magic is related to those deadlights. They're used to allow the king to ascend higher within the Dark Tower's many levels, but the disturbing thing to consider is that its essence is simply a part of Derry, something the town can't be rid of, so the existence of these deadlights is more so the ever-existing presence of It within Derry, Maine. It's not that the Crimson King is causing them, it's more so that he's using what's already there. As for the shape-shifting, Pennywise as a creature exists outside of the mortal plane. Its real body is somewhere within the macroverse, a reality that wraps around our own, and so its physical form is simply an extension of itself, allowing it to mold and shape it to accommodate its needs to instill fear. The Crimson King is not from this macroverse. His ties are to the Prim and Midworld, a being of two separate places where order and chaos meet. His power is an extension of his connection to the Prim and the dark abominations lurking within, not due to being some force that exists within a separate reality. Not to mention, the Crimson King is knowledgeable on the state of the universe and everything's position within it. He knows about the Dark Tower and alternate worlds, evident by his travel to Derry, Maine in the first place, while It is woefully ignorant to all of this. It believes that itself and Maturin the Turtle are all there is, that they both are the supreme beings within their macroverse. It is woefully ignorant to the fact that other worlds exist, let alone powerful beings, so to say that it's related to the Crimson King seems like one hell of a stretch. Okay, so they're not the same being. What if they're related? I mean, It becomes a giant spider and the Crimson King is known as a were-spider. Surely that must draw some connections, right? Well, maybe, but there's another way to look at this. It took the form of a spider because it was the closest thing it could get to showcasing its true form within our world, its actual presence being unable to be comprehended by the human mind. Looking at its true form drove you mad. The Crimson King, on the other hand, already has ties to Midworld. The transformation into a spider-like creature is a byproduct of who he is and his connection to the Prim itself. His true form is a cross between his human and spider forms, and he's able to switch between them at will. So, relation-wise, it's possible that spider-like appendages are a concurring thing within the Prim, but as for a direct relation, well, it just doesn't seem possible. The Crimson King's only real relative outside of his mother would probably be his son Mordred, and how he comes about is just a whole can of worms that we aren't going to get into now. But as it stands, there's certainly similarities between these two beings, but it's pretty safe to say that they aren't related in any shape or form. Or at the very least, evidence to back up such claim is a bit lacking. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below, and thank you for tuning in to this Stephen King discussion. This is Luke signing out.